Well, I just got done reading an Apple Sleep Experiment Chapter 11, Who's to Blame, and I don't like this chapter. This chapter is extremely frustrating, and I dare even say it's terrible. There is one part of it, though, that I really liked, and that's when Twilight is leaving the cell and Applejack is calling out to her, asking about Apple Bloom, and it ends with "What happened to my sister?" I think that's a terrifying and depressing way to end it, and I actually really like that. Especially because until, someone reads the sequel, or if you read the sequel, or until it came out and all that, you don't know what happened to Apple Bloom. It was left to the reader to decide if she was dead or if she just is hospitalized. But this sequel does reveal that she's alive. I haven't read the sequel, I just know about that part because that part got spoiled for me. But it's still a good way to end the original, especially if you just want to stick to the first one and not even bother with the second one. I'll have to find out and see, but other than that, I don't like this chapter. It at first it seemed like it tried to. At first, it seemed like it tried to keep it open. Rather, there was a potion, and there wasn't because Twilight claims there was no potion. She just went insane because of the heat and a lack of sleep. Where Applejack claims that there was a potion she gave her, and I do like how it attempted that, but it's clear, especially with how the author writes and describes Twilight, her movement, her words, and how she's, pausing in between sentences, it's like she's trying to find the right words not to give away that she actually gave the potion. It's more leaning towards the fact that she did give the potion, she's just lying about it. And even if she wasn't, I still think she'd be out of character here because she doesn't seem to have any sympathy for Applejack at all. She doesn't seem like she's trying to figure out what the case is so she can help get her out of there and understand what happened. Especially because this is one of her closest friends. You think she would do that. Like, let's say there was no potion. She went insane because of the heat and the lack of sleep, because again, to be fair, in chapter 2 it did show that she wasn't sleeping way before she got the potion. But yeah, you think Twilight wouldn't put her in a cell for life, first of all, because she would be sleep deprived and the heat would get to her, so it wouldn't really be her fault. Would she deserve to have some form of punishment? Yeah, regardless if the potion's real or not, yeah, she would. But being locked in life and Twilight allowing her to be locked in there for life and to rot in the cell is messed up and completely out of character. This ending feels like it's trying to be depressing, and for the most part, depressing and terrifying, and for the most part it works, but really it doesn't do it very well because of the build-up, where Butterflies for me had a good build-up, but the ending was kind of lame because it's just Pinkie Pie was in love with Rainbow Dash. Pinkie Pie was in love with Rainbow Dash, and that brought me out of it because I don't ship them together, and if you don't ship them, then I don't see it really working for you. Especially because I wouldn't say it comes out of nowhere there, but it still doesn't have a good build-up. And I just feel like it could still be more depressing if it was just my best friend killed another one, killed my closest friend, or heck, even replace Rainbow Dash with Maud, but that's for a different time. Where the build-up was good, but the payoff wasn't. Here for me, the build-up was terrible, but the build-up was actually really good, in my opinion. The payoff was really good with, her screaming, what happened to my sister? That is terrifying, and because she has no idea what happened. Especially, I haven't watched the full narration or listened to it, but last night I did cut to that part of the lost narrator. and the voice actress did a good job. I was pretty terrified with her delivery for it. So that part I like, but the build-up is just so bad. It's terrible. Because regardless if the potion was real or not, which again is leading more towards the fact that it is, and Twilight is lying, then it's still out of character for Twilight. She doesn't seem to have any sympathy for Applejack at all, which you think she would. Everyone who read this story has sympathy for Applejack. Even if you didn't have this ending, you would still feel sorry for her because it's the potion. It's not her fault that all that happened. Yes, she took the whole potion, and granted, she probably didn't need to drink all of it, but she was in the middle of a drought and only had 2 weeks to pay off a debt during a drought. She was desperate. The thing that doesn't help is that line. There's 2 lines that shows that Twilight knows that Applejack's not really at fault, that she is I'm the princess of friendship. I don't need to be taking the blame for my friend's misfortunes, or take the blame for my friend's deeds, shall I say. And it turns out Starlight Glimmer is a lot more useful to Equestria than we thought. Those 2 lines irritated me. This ending, I don't know if it ruins the story, but it's definitely a bad ending. I honestly, with full context of everything, I don't know how I feel about the story. We'll find out when I do the full review. For now, though, I just don't know. I can say in full confidence, this story is flawed. It is definitely flawed. It is more flawed, in my opinion, than Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity combined. I'm just going to be completely honest. And that's saying something, because y'all know, y'all been around here, y'all been listening and watching my reviews. I don't like Rocket to Insanity. It's just completely disappointing and does a poor job at what it attempted to do, because it felt like it tried to have the obvious solution, I'm getting frustrated. Because Rocket to Insanity, it's obvious regardless if you know what it's about, or going in you hear that, oh yeah, Cupcakes is a nightmare that Rainbow Dash has. She's going to end up killing Pinkie Pie, isn't she? Or Pinkie Pie is going to actually kill her and turn her to a cupcake. But, like, we know one of those 2 solutions is going to happen, and just try to drag it out and make it shocking. Here, the flaw is really how it jumps to some time later. At first, that didn't bother me too much, but the more I think about it, it does, especially with this ending. An ending is very important because it can make or break the entire story. The rest of the story can be completely bad, it can be terrible, but the ending can be really good, and it can help, with the movie. It can help benefit the movie. But if it's a bad ending, then the whole story is bad. There's nothing to value. But if the entire story is good except the ending, then the whole story feels pointless. If it's a bad story with a good ending, you feel like it has some value to it because the ending is really good. But if it's a good story with a terrible ending, then the whole story just feels pointless to you because that ending is so bad. And honestly, yeah, I kind of think that probably. The story probably is. I don't know. I'm going to hold off on saying that or having that be my opinion until I do the full review, because I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to binge read it, and then I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the entire story, about the stuff I like, the stuff I don't like, and the stuff I probably more likely will be mixed on, because as of right now, there is some stuff I'm mixed on. But I'll tell you, I don't think this chapter is going to change for me. This chapter is terrible. It is frustrating. Twilight frustrated me so much. I like the part with Applejack because it makes sense. But with Twilight, again, it feels like at first the author was like, I'll leave it open to interpretation. But then the more you read it, you realize, nah, the author's just like, I'm having Twilight lie. And it's obvious with how she is written, how she moves, how she shows no sympathy for Applejack, how she is okay with locking her in the cell. Heck, there's even a paragraph that says she would have been her. It would have been easier for her if Applejack wasn't the same. That way, it would feel right to her to actually lock her up in the cell. Yeah, there is a paragraph about that, about how if Applejack was still sleep deprived and acting insane, she could justify it to herself, locking her in the cell forever. Oh my goodness. It especially sucks because I was really enjoying the story. You know, I got over Filthy Rich. Not completely, but enough for me to ignore it and be like, alright, this is how it's going to be. I got over that. And I was trying to be more open about Lyra being the only one that we saw die, or we saw Lyra die, but we didn't see Filthy Rich die. Then, you know, I was kind of a little confused and a little annoyed that we didn't really see many deaths. Not because I want to see gore, but because if there's a whole massacre and ponies are gone missing, I think we probably should see a bit more. Really just to show how sleep deprived she is and how dangerous Applejack is. But the more I thought about it, you know, it kind of already did a good job with that without showing all the murders. So, okay. But then as soon as I sit down, I think about it, I'm like, all right, you know what? This is actually fine for what it's fine. It's good. We don't need to see all the murders. We don't even need to see Filthy Rich dying. Because this whole story isn't really about the murders. It's about the psychological horror of being sleep deprived in My Little Pony. But then you have this ending, and I appreciate a bummer ending because I'm not one of those that thinks, you know, a story's got to have a happy ending all the time, especially in horror, because it's horror. Like, you can have a happy ending in horror and it still be, in the story, would still have some significance to it. But to do it like this, where Twilight was in character through the entire thing until the ending, is way more infuriating. It irritates me way more than Rocket to Insanity when it tried to keep Pinkie Pie out of the picture until the ending for what it feels like to me a shock value. Irritates me way more than instead of just sticking with the horror roots, trying to desperately go tragic by having Pinkie Pie be in love with Rainbow Dash, or instead of just going with the obvious so everybody can feel the tragedy of it, because I don't see because her love for her just kind of felt like it was put in there just to make it more depressing, when I felt like it did a good job at actually having a scary and unnerving atmosphere. So trying to make it depressing didn't really fit, especially with the fact that Pinkie Pie died there anyway, so you could have still had that without having to hold off on it. And it definitely irritates me more than Filthy Rich's betrayal in this story, because at least with Filthy Rich, he was written out of character through the entire fanfic / creepypasta. Here, Twilight, as I said, was in character through the entire thing, and now she's just out of character. I appreciate trying to go, or at first trying to go with the leave it to the reader interpretation, because I like when it does that, especially because the whole story felt like that. But then when you have them go into the hospital in their POV and Twilight's POV, admitting that there is a potion, and then we get here where she says there is none, that kind of ruins it. Because again, it takes her out, it puts Twilight out of character, and when you think about it, what the heck is that then? That chapter can just be taken out, and this probably would be slightly better. Twilight would still feel out of character here, but at least we would have more of it being left to interpretation. The story, I want to like it, but I just don't know how I feel about it. And this ending definitely just makes it hard for me to. It makes it hard for me to like it to love it the way I did earlier. But the stuff that I did like in it, that I named and that I put in that I talked about in the last chapters, it's kind of hard for me to say I hate it, but this ending, man, definitely. I understand why a lot of people hate Twilight in this fanfic now. You know, I was trying to be fair and stuff, but yeah, it's even worse, man, that the fact that she felt like Twilight from the show, and then just all of a sudden she just feels like a completely different character. I don't know. It's whatever, I guess. As far as I'm concerned, this chapter is the worst chapter of the story, just because of how frustrating it is. Especially Twilight. I felt bad for Applejack, but hey, at least the final part of it was pretty good. You know, what happened to my sister reminds me of when a friend of mine who read Pet Sematary, he told me that the last thing you hear at the ending is "darling." You know, good way to end it, but the build up it's terrible. The build up to it's terrible, but the very final note of it was pretty good. But that's not really enough to save this chapter for me. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop it for there. I'll go way more into detail about it when I talk about the full video. For now, though, what do you guys think? I know I read some reviews before recording, and some people did say they like it, even with this chapter. Others said they liked the story, but the chapter ruined it. Others said it was just okay. What are y'all's thoughts? Do y'all like the story? Do y'all hate it? If you do you like the ending? Do you hate the ending? What's y'all's thoughts? And please let me. Sorry, just take hiccups, but please let me know. Until then, this is the Gaming Reader. I will see y'all in the next one. Next week, I'm going to post some video game videos as I get the full review ready, because I'm going to be writing a script for the very first time. See how that goes. I'm going to experiment with the reviews. See how they go. I want to do some experimenting on this channel. See what sticks, what doesn't, what you guys like, what you don't like. So until then, y'all, I'll be posting some video game videos until I get the script done. You know, until I reread the entire story from chapter 1 to chapter 11, and then sit down and write a script about it. Until then, y'all, I hope y'all enjoy this video. If you do, please leave a like, and if you don't mind, please subscribe. Only if you want to subscribe. If you want to, please do so. That would be greatly appreciated. But until then, y'all, this is the Gaming Reader. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, and God bless y'all.